Hello everyone and welcome to our final 2015 round of the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike Championship from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park just northeast of Oshawa, Ontario. Part of the 2015 Mopar Canadian National Motorcycle Road Racing Championships. I'm your series announcer, Frank Wood. This CSBK race coverage is brought to you by Mopar, Honda Canada, and Dunlop. Here we go now for our warm-up lap for this, the final round of the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike class. Let's have a look at our grid.
Row 5 includes Brent Strong, number 81 on his Yamaha from Mississauga. All the way from Alberta, we have 141 Shane Toes on his Yamaha. And on pole in row 5, Stacey Nesbitt in contention for Rookie Pro of the Year on her number 316 Honda from Quebec.
Starting out on row number 4 on the outside is number 26 of Ross Di Natale out of Peterborough, Ontario. Alongside him is the number 53 machine. That is Newcastle, Ontario rider Eli DeCache on the Yamaha. Filling out row 4, mounted on a Honda in from Saint-Marthe, Quebec, is number 76 Louis Raffa.
Outside of row 3 is Philip Massey, a podium man at Calabogie at our opener aboard a Kawasaki number 18. Then we move on to Anzi Nawaz on Kawasaki from Thornton, Ontario. Then we have Chris Garvey, number 71 aboard his Honda. And filling out on pole in row 3 is Jean-Francois Cyr returning to the series aboard his Triumph Triple.
Up to row number 2 on the 117 machine in from Inverary, Ontario, Yamaha rider Jeff Williams. Alongside him in the middle of row 2, back from his ventures south of the border, from Collingwood, Ontario, Yamaha rider number 86, Ben Young. And filling out row 2, in from Deep Cove, British Columbia, Yamaha rider number 229, Darren James.
And unfortunately, I think Williams will be missing the race due to ignition trouble with that Yamaha. On outside of row 1 is Will Hornblower on his Yamaha R6, number 47. And then we move on to third overall. Thomas Kazaz also in contention for Top Rookie Pro, number 46 on his Yamaha from Peterborough. Jody Christie, a former champion in this class, aboard a Honda from Keene, Ontario, number 20. And Kenny Reedman, our points leader, reigning champion, aboard his Triumph from Bellefontaine.
The field now forming up here on this world-famous Canadian Tire Motorsports Park starting grid. Now under starters orders, CSBK official Fred Benjamin holding them with the red flag there. He'll pass over the reins, if you will, to our official starter, Chris Chappell. And Chappell will be in charge of igniting the Blue Streak Racing starting lights.
Looking at that front row, we're on board with Reedman here with those all black leathers. He's chosen to go on the inside. We have typically seen the outside to be the better spot, and Hornblower is there because of the trade on the opening start row.
The other two riders, of course, holding their position. Hold on a second now. We've got problems. Reedman is waving, and as is Christie. And also Hornblower had his hand off the handlebars, so something going on there, Colin, and there's some communication going on between the front row riders. Looks like we're good to go once more. Once more, the eyes on the Blue Streak Racing starting lights. We get ready as the motors start to build up in their high revs. And not fast qualifier, but third fast qualifier, rather. Tommy Kaz is getting the clutch out first, but it looks like Jody Christie, who has moved into the race lead very quickly, and Will Hornblower is tucked right in behind him.
Yeah, I think Hornblower may have anticipated the start, though, so we'll see how that plays out as we head down through turn 2, the double apex. Very fast downhill turn. For the first time, there's the view looking back from Christie's bike, and that's Reedman. And we're on board with Reedman now in third spot. We can look at our leader. I think that's Hornblower now into first ahead of Christie.
Yes, it is. Hornblower's got the race lead, and boy, if there's a kid that deserves a race victory, it has to be Hornblower. He has had a batch of bad luck, rather, both this year and towards the end of last season as well. Hornblower leads the pack down into Mosses.
And that's Young up in fourth. Of course, he does not normally compete in this series. He's joined us for this round. Hasn't raced in Canada for the last couple of years, but very popular here with support from Hindle on that Yamaha.
Having a look now at Christie as Reedman pulls by him, and now we jump on board with Reedman up the Mario Andretti straightaway as he sets out in pursuit of Hornblower. I was going to comment on that start, Colin. If anybody jumped the line, it may have been Tommy Kazas. He seemed to be very brisk today in the clutch out into turn number 8 now as Reedman pulling on the outside of Will Hornblower. They get a quick short shoot now. No return of favor.
No need to get desperate on the first lap. Typically, no one's been able to break clear, and look at that move Christie made. Reedman was a little hesitant, and I was going to suggest that's because it's early. There's no need to rush, but Christie pounces. Of course, Christie's overdue for some luck, and he may have decided to manufacture it right now.
Yeah, it's time to get going. Christie's had a less than stellar season as well. Certainly not as a result of rider skill, that's for sure. As Christie now, we have a look at him from the back of Hornblower's bike down in through turn number 2. And Hornblower's, it's one of those races where you could put it on a dime on the track. Hornblower is paying very, very special attention, it seems, Colin, to his racing line.
Well, it's important to hit your marks here at Mosport because you want to carry the speed and you don't want to do anything to upset the flow. These 600s are relatively powerful, 125 horsepower motorcycles. And here we go. Christie has definitely moved across Hornblower's dime because he's taken the lead.
And Ben Young tucked in behind there, running in 4th spot just now, in behind Kenny Reedman. So Young, who has been racing mostly in the Moto America series in the United States of America, making a visit here and making it worth his while.
And we're on board with Reedman there, and we were having good luck at Young, and Hornblower is really tight on the draft with Christie.
Wow, side by side now as Reedman pulls up alongside and passes Hornblower going into turn number 9, and Christie holding the lead there. The 3 riders virtually side by side at one point.
Couple of shuffles there in the draft, and now Christie's back in front. He's probably a little surprised about that, and I'm sure he'd like to try to break away, but I don't see it as likely. Yesterday's race was very close, and I don't think anyone has the power to overcome. A couple of bikes have shown some speed, maybe slightly superior in the draft, and I'd have to go with Hornblower and Reedman. They're second and third right now, but not enough to get away.
Ben Young now coming up on the outside of Will Hornblower. Young on the Yamaha now tucking in behind Hornblower. I thought he was going to try to make a pass, and indeed it looks like he may be making that stab right now going into turn number 3, and Ben Young has moved into 3rd spot.
Hornblower drifting a little bit wide on the exit there, probably trying to figure out if there's traction that you can make something work. At very early days, but of course everyone's already starting to think about how the race wound out yesterday with the kind of slipstreaming and what it's going to take to make a move or to find a partner or to break free.
Jody Christie on the Accelerated Technologies Honda Canada CBR 600RR now leads the pack up the back straightaway. We go for a ride now on the Triumph 675 of Kenny Reedman, Sturgis Cycle and GE Capital, as well as the Triumph Factory, very proudly supporting that young man out of Caledon, Ontario, and he now leads the pack going into turn number 8.
Hornblower lost a little bit of time with that wide line in turn 3, so he has dropped back just a bit. So now it is Young who's the contender in 3rd, and I expect to see him show a few moves in the very near future to let everybody know that he's capable of winning this race too.
Don't count Hornblower out. I've seen this kid work back from disadvantage in the past before, and I suggested he'll have his head down as we start now to work a lap number 4, and Christie is all over Reedman right now.
And let's mention Tommy Kazaz, who's up to 5th and definitely part of this discussion. And look at that, Young looking on the outside of Christie in turn 2. That is not an easy move, but Christie's going to try something on the exit.
Oh, a beauty move by Christie. I thought he was going to pull up alongside Kenny Reedman there. Didn't quite get alongside, but speaking of alongside, here comes Ben Young once more.
And Kazaz is right there. He's really, really close behind Hornblower. So actually, with all this weaving and side-by-side running, we've compressed the front of the field significantly, even compared to the first lap.
Kaz is on the Peterborough Cycle Salvage Parts Canada sponsored Yamaha, having a great year this year. And as you mentioned earlier, Colin, there he is as we get on board with the Trev Dealey motorcycle sponsored Darren James now in behind Tommy Kazas, and a great shot of that outstanding rookie talent.
James on the R6 drafting another Yamaha, and James is definitely pulled into contention. I believe that's Chris Garvey right behind James, so we've got 7 bikes, I believe, who are theoretically in play for the win.
James is like that wine and cheese thing. You know, he just keeps getting better and better with age. He's already stood on the podium twice this year in sport bike racing, and that's new to him.
I don't know if you saw Christie there, really aggressive coming out of 9 into 10, and Young just let off the brakes and got back in front of him. So that's where we're at. These top pro riders are in the situation where they're comfortable enough that really it's almost like 50cc dirt bike racing in your backyard. If the guy gets beside you, just let go of the brakes and go right past.
Christie to the outside of Ben Young that time as they swoop down through 2, and Hornblower, as I mentioned, is far from out of the equation here as he leads Tommy Kazas and Darren James running back there in 4th and 5th position, but very much a part of the act. Look how tight they are now coming out of 3.
Impressive to see how quickly Christie gets up on the tail section to try and be as slippery as possible. incredible. Look at Young on the wide line through the chute here. This is brave stuff. I don't think it's going to work, but Young definitely seems comfortable, and we've seen him through this section in particular run side by side with the front guys.
Young taking that line down through four, through the chute on a wide line like that is just looking for a thrill ride, and I'm sure it brought a wee bit of a smile to the young man's face.
Riedman leading the field all the way to the right, almost in the drainage area where Crevier so famously liked to lead the group. And there you can see Young pulling out of the draft, but couldn't make anything happen. Hornblower actually trying to make a move on Young for third.
Riedman still holds the race lead. Christie runs in second spot. They stay very much within a stone's throw of one another. Christie now moves to the inside of turn number 10. Does he get a job? Let's go. Job done. Rather, we go on ride with Kenny Riedman, noting that Jody Christie has got the job done, and he's moved into first spot
Last
once
lap,
more.
He couldn't make that work on Young, but he made it work on Riedman. Really aggressive moving on the inside into 10, and that is not an easy pass.
Riedman looked like he really wanted to return the favor going into turn number 1. But obviously thought better of it as we now work lap number 6.
Just love this low angle with the onboard camera going through turn 2 there, and you really get a sense of what it's like to ride one of these bikes. It's one of those things we've just seen in the last few years. It's just amazing how much you can feel a part of it. Of course, this view, no one ever has.
Christie just a wee bit wide in turn number 3, and Kenny Riedman having a look there, but not making a move as once more they steam down into Mosses. Ben Young holds on to third spot, and sure enough, the speedster out of Sarnia, Ontario, Will Hornblower solidly in fourth spot. We've talked about the draft before. I suspect that Hornblower can use it to his advantage.
Looking backwards with that drift camera from Christie's bike, and Riedman just blows right by. Remember, both these riders, Riedman and Christie, are also in the Superbike race, so they've been spending a lot of time drafting specifically with each other. They're very, very comfortable. They've done a lot of racing together, and that experience in Superbike just enhances their ability to move to the front here on the 600 class.
There
machines.
are 7 riders in that train of motorcycles, that chain of motorcycles now coming out onto the front straight, and they are all very, very close. Look at this action now. Riedman leads over Christie, and Hornblower running back in third spot. Ben Young on the 86 machine actually holding on to third. Hornblower into fourth spot now, and Tommy Kaza staying right in the draft and the wheel tracks, if you will, of Will Hornblower.
Yeah, Kazas, I don't think, wants to make a move just yet. He's waiting to see how things play out, and frankly, that looks like a pretty smart decision at this point. Yeah, I'm surprised how aggressive everybody has been, particularly Christie, who I think is a little bit frustrated and wants to show that he'll do what it takes to win on the last lap.
Kazas has been riding a very smart year as Ben Young now pulls up right alongside Christie. Ben Young moves into second spot on the Tim Hortons-sponsored Yamaha, solidly into second spot now, swooping in there with Kenny Riedman. He is nose to tail now with Riedman coming out of turn number 5. Christie shunted back into third spot.
Big moment for Chris Garvey there. He got in front of Darren James, was trying to pass Kazaz, and I'm not even sure if he made it, but he lost the front end and was lucky if he saved it, but he probably got scrubbed off from this group. But I was just about to mention how Garvey was on the move, and something definitely went wrong there.
Has it impacted Kazas as we watch Christie now on the inside of Will Hornblower?
Yeah, we've definitely seen the top 5 split from the other two, so it had a major effect.
So Hornblower was able to move up one position there, and Christie rapidly took it back again. Hornblower on
and here's
the
this drift
47.
angle I love so much that really gives you a sense of what it's like to ride these bikes. And after I made the stirring conversation about Christie, Ben Young seems to be the guy who's determined to show what he's capable of.
And indeed, the top 4 now, Hornblower running in fourth spot. And again, I just can't count Tommy Casas out of this. We were talking about him earlier on. He's been riding a very smart race. A smart season, I should say, Colin.
Really good look at Young there, and Christie thinking about going around the outside in 2. We've seen so much amazing riding through turn 2. Now Young maybe a little wide, but no, he picks the line back up, gets down to his apex, and actually seems to pick up a bit of a drive. So Young's trying some different things, and again, everybody's considering what'll happen on the last lap. And there you saw Young all the way to the outside of the top of 4, which is a little unusual, but tucks back in, picks up the line, picks up the apex. No surprises, but these are not mistakes. These are experiments.
Those lines reminding me of the lines he may have chosen as a young man riding on a 125cc 2-stroke, where maintaining that momentum in the corners, of course, is crucial.
Nice to have a little more horsepower, though.
Speaking of horsepower, Christie better grab a handful of it right now. He's starting to get a little distanced back there in third spot, and Hornblower having a look to the inside of turn number 8, but decides that no room in the inn just there.
Kazaz still hanging in there solidly in 5th, hasn't made any moves, but hasn't lost any time, hasn't been held up in any of the minor issues that have occurred so far. And everybody, look at that, Young riding the curbs right to the very end, and that's exciting and slightly risky stuff.
Using all of the racetrack. I hesitate to talk anymore about Tommy Kazas because I was talking about him in Edmonton. I was saying how great he was doing. Oh, nice pass there at the top of 2 by Ben Young. So Ben Young now in the Tim Hortons sponsored machine has moved into first spot, but for how long?
Well, that inside line is bumpy there, and it's a little challenging down the hill, but he's held on. I think Reedman could have finished that, but didn't need to. But the net of those two guys going down the hill side by side, and Christie had a good look there, wondered what was going on, is that it's compressed the field yet again. So these guys are much closer, and I wonder, is there someone in the back of this shot, or have they actually finally got away? And there's 3 bikes probably 2 seconds behind.
Christie looking, little bit of a moment, I should say. Not a big moment, but Hornblower did have a moment there, Colin.
No, he would certainly have noticed that, and pushing the front end there is bad because your risk is you don't get on the throttle. Everything about the distance between 5A and 5B, which is very short, is to settle the bike so you can get on the gas hard to get the drive up the back straight. And look at Young and Reedman side by side through 8 yet again.
Reedman swings out and makes the pass, and then Young returns the favor mid-corner, going through the right-hander. Now in through the left-hander of turn number 9. They stack it up into 10, and this is the run down to the flag. Of course, this is where they want to be in the lead on the final lap of this race. Christie has closed up somewhat and remains within striking distance, holding on to 3rd spot. Hornblower continues to look to the inside, and Kaz is running back there on the number 46 machine, the Parts Canada sponsored rider, doing just a splendid job.
Good view from Reedman's drift cameras. I love this view down the hill through 2. It really captures a sense of how exciting it is, and a good look at the big Dunlop DOT on the back of that Yamaha R6 that's leading the race, at least for this turn.
Tommy Kazas sitting back there in 5th spot. You know what? He may be just in the best position of all. When we factor in the draft that this kid can play it right, he just may be on his way to his first national championship win in Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport bike class. We look back from the back fender of Kenny Reedman, and now we've looked to the front of the pack there as Ben Young continues to lead over Reedman and Christie.
So there's 2 things to consider about Kazaz. He's probably taking slightly better care of his tires, but on the flip side, he has no experience running at this pace at the front at this venue. So every lap is an important lap. Every lap is really useful and good in terms of instruction, but I think it's a lot to ask for him to really make a lot of moves, and he's got to be careful because he is not well known to these guys, and he doesn't want to develop any personal issues this early in his career as a rookie pro, and he lost a little time that trip up the straight.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on that myself. Here we are on board with Kenny Reedman having a look back at those in pursuit as we watch Jody Christie move into 2nd spot. Once more taking that position away from Ben Young. Ben Young now on the extreme rider's left, coming down into turn number 1.
And Hornblower is the one who seems to be just pacing himself. He hasn't made too many moves lately. He was very ambitious early on, so we'll wait and see what happens. And here we go down through 2, which tends to produce a lot of drama. Christie opting not to make a move that time, but he may try on the inside of 3.
So at what point do you make the decision to move into the race lead? Assuming Christie has the ability to do that, when does he do it? Here now out of Quebec corner once more, and you're right, Casas has fallen off the pace a little bit, but that's okay. That's what I was talking about, riding smart.
Riding smart is good, but you don't want to lose the lead draft, and I think he is still close enough that he can get towed back into this group because they're moving a lot of air. So I don't think we've seen the last of Kazas, but Young there had a bit of a dramatic moment and left the door open for Christie. So things, people are getting a little more ambitious now that we're past midway.
Young sweeping line there, coming very, very close to Jody Christie's front wheel. Christie, a former 3-time champion in Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport bike racing, as Reedman and Young going at it once more. Having a look at Young from Reedman's bike as they swoop in through the right-hander, turn number 8. Short shoot now as Ben Young on the outside of Reedman has taken the race lead once more.
Young tried the long way round and it worked, and I don't know if Reedman's going to give him that much room if it's the last lap. Reedman's bike seems to have, if anything, just a slight edge in terms of outright performance, not enough to break clear, but maybe enough to give him more choice if it comes down to the last lap. And of course, right now, everybody's auditioning for how that last lap will play out, and you can't have a solid plan with 5 guys running for the lead. Look at what happened to Christie with Hornblower on that last lap. Christie actually doesn't seem to have quite the power of some of the others, and he's going to have to use strategy and hope for some help from at least one of the other guys.
Reedman once more into the race lead over Ben Young. now working out of turn number 3. Young tucked down in behind Reedman. We'll see if he takes that wide line down in through the chute. Now he does remain quite a bit wide, but not quite as drastic as we saw a few laps back.
We have 3 Yamahas, a Triumph, and a Honda, so good variety of motorcycles here. And even though there's only one Triumph, it does seem to be the bike to beat on the backstretch.
There is a lot of talk about how fast that Triumph is. Of course, in Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike Racing, they are limited to a maximum of 125 horsepower. But you'll remember, Colin, in AMA racing that the Triumph team had the fastest motorcycle through the racetrack, or through the speed traps, I should say, at virtually every AMA round. Look at this action up front as Ben Young swooping in there and coming in like a bird of prey in on Reedman.
And I think Reedman's being somewhat protective. He won't be that way on the last lap. He's going to take up a lot more road. And Young actually made some decent time there, but I don't think that's representative of what Reedman can and probably will do.
Young kind of worries me in the amount of racetrack he's using, especially coming out of 10 and onto the front straightaway. He uses just about everything that's available there.
Look at him at the top of 2, and he's using all the track there. His line is impressive, and he is not squeezing down the way someone lacking confidence would, but Reedman made up some time there. And again, I just love that shot with the drift cameras. Reedman squeezes by and takes the lead, and of course, really, you don't want to be leading in this part of the track.
Talk about the drifts for a moment. You mentioned they were aerodynamic.
Well, I think the riders are just more comfortable with a camera that doesn't create as much drag. So that is an issue, particularly at a fast track. And really, we only have 2 very fast tracks, and that's our opener at Calabogie and our doubleheader here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Will Hornblower now holding on to 3rd spot. The Sarnia Speedster on the number 47 machine, leading the 46 machine of Tommy Kazas. But Hornblower is with the lead group, and Kazas slightly off the pace of that same lead group. Hornblower in 3rd spot now as we watch Ben Young swing out to Ryder's left and make a pass. No, not quite done this time around. He'll do it again between 8 and 9.
And that time, Reedman cut back in a lot much more aggressive. And I don't know if you noticed in the background there, it looks like Christie has been scrubbed off. I don't know what's going on there, but he no longer seems like a factor for the win.
Holy cow, he's right out of the picture now. Tommy Kaz is holding on to 4th spot. And that shot there, we see
last
Christie
lap.
now as we go on to our last lap. And it looks like Lady Luck has come up on the short side for Jody Christie, former champion. Ben Young had the race lead there just for a moment as he was up alongside Kenny Reedman. And now Will Hornblower on the number 47 Yamaha sitting in 3rd spot as he has a chance to realize another podium position here in the Hindle Exhaust Pro Sport Bike class. Ben Young way, way wide there. Hornblower looking at that space like an invitation to a drive-through. Hornblower had his opportunity, but did not get the job done. But Ben Young's getting the job done now as they come down the chute.
And he chased Reedman out way past the apex there, and I don't know if that was a plan, but it's definitely going to hurt Reedman a little bit in this part of the track, but you can bet it's motivated Reedman. He will not be happy about what happened in the chute.
I don't think he was expecting it. I sure wasn't expecting it. A total change of lines by Ben Young as now we go on board with Kenny Reedman once more, and we look back at Will Hornblower in pursuit. There's Ben Young now up the straightaway here under the Canadian Tire Bridge for the very last time as they get ready to stuff it right into turn number 8. Here they go.
Reedman really brave on the brakes there, and he did the outside move Young's been pulling regularly.
Reedman riding like the champion he is, capturing the number 1 plate for Triumph. It's the first time that Triumph has captured a national championship since 1967. Here onto the front straightaway again, Reedman and Ben Young virtually side by side. Young can't get the drive that Reedman enjoys coming off of turn number 10, and it looks like Will Hornblower in 3rd spot.
And that is the way to clinch a championship. What a ride by Reedman. In the second half of the season, he has been pretty much unbeatable. He's been on fire. Here you can see him doing another burnout aboard that number 1 Triumph, and he'll be carrying that number 1 plate for a 2nd straight year in 2016.
It's been so long. I've been on a podium, and there couldn't have been a better place. I love Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It's honestly my favorite track. I love coming here. My dad loves coming here. He's got a great history here. I mean, we had some trouble yesterday. I jumped the start. My own fault. Just nerves got to me, I guess. And, I did a really good race, rode really hard. We got a good setup, all thanks to my dad and John Cornwell. And, today I got what was coming to me.
Yeah, we had our first few laps were good fun, and then we we put our head down, and it was Jody, Kenny, and myself were going at it, and Will was there also, and I don't know what happened to Jody, unfortunately, but Kenny and we were passing like a few times a lap, and we were having so much fun. You see him look behind him out corner 3 and big nodding his head. I'm like, yeah, it was so much fun, and I tried everything I had on the last lap, but Kenny was riding awesome, and it's been a few years since I've been able to battle with him, and he's came on leaps and bounds, and I'm stoked for him to have this number 1 back this year.
Out of the race wins we've seen you take this year, Kenny, I would suggest this was the hardest fought.
Oh, by far. It was, I could tell Ben really, really wanted that win because I battled with him before, and I've never seen him ride that aggressive. And we actually touched a little bit in turn 4 on the last lap, and it was all clean. He was making an aggressive move, and I was trying to hold it, and luckily we both got through it. And I'm just, I would have been really happy with the second place too, but to win it and to clinch the championship on top of the box is unreal.
Hindle, we have one more duty for you, sir. There you have it. Legendary Superbike champion himself, Hindle, handing over that number 1 plate once more. And as I say, Kenny will wear that right through the 2016 season.